Hello, and welcome to the 4th episode of Virtual Weaponry. I'm XNGA Alpha, and I will be your host. In this episode we will be looking at the M249 SAW. The M249 SAW, or Squad Automatic Weapon, is an American derivative of the Belgian Mini-Me light machine gun. The original Mini-Me was designed and manufactured by Fabrique Nationale de Herstal, or FN Herstal. The Mini-Me was designed in 1974, with the M249 following close behind in 1976 and entering service in 1984. The M249 fires a 5.56x45mm NATO round, typically as part of a linked belt. However, it can also accept Stanag magazines, as used by weapons such as the M4 and M16 rifles. In 1965, the only primary machine guns in service by the US Army and United States Marine Corps were the M2 Browning, a large caliber, heavy machine gun usually mounted on vehicles of fixed emplacements, and the M60, a much more mobile medium machine gun intended to provide heavy automatic fire. However, both were quite heavy and required at least a 2-man team to operate. Two lighter options were available, the M14 and M16 rifles. However, neither were designed for sustained automatic fire, and the 20 and 30 round magazines were not much in comparison to the belt-fed M60 and M2 Browning. As a result, an individual machine gun was required, lighter than the M60 but with more firepower than the M16. Enter the M249. The M249 has appeared in a few games I have played, particularly ones that require a little more squad work, such as Call of Duty 4, Bad Company 2, and Battlefield 3. I'm going to be totally honest here and say that I didn't use the SAW a whole lot during my time on COD 4. Being a light machine gun, the SAW tended to lose out in its usage to the more versatile weapons, such as assault rifles and submachine guns. This is true for me, as I tended to use weapons that I could move around with, such as the MP5 or M4. The light machine guns in near enough all Call of Duties have been plagued with sluggish move speeds, a trait that is understandable due to the weapon type's bulkier appearance. This isn't to say, however, that they were not used at all, or that they weren't fun to use. You had three choices of LMGs in COD 4, the rapid-firing M249 SAW, the hard-hitting RPD, or the manly M60 E4. The SAW saw the most usage for me, for no particular reason other than it being the first LMG unlocked with Creator Class. It was hard to settle on a single attachment for the SAW, however, it was usually between the red dot and grip. The red dot was usually the option, as it meant that I could also use RPGs and the SAW was fairly accurate by itself. Running and gunning wasn't always an option for the SAW though, as a result of the LMG's slow handling times, so a more reserved playstyle was required. Although slow to handle, it was always a good moment when you had multiple enemies charge at you, and all you needed to do was pin the trigger and look in their direction. When you had to reload though, that wasn't quite as fun. Battlefield's class and squad system helped to see LMGs have much bigger usage. My first usage of the M249 in Bad Company 2 dates all the way back to the beta. As it was the first time I had played a Battlefield game, I was intrigued to try out each of the classes. In addition to this, the only other FPS I had played was COD, so I wasn't that willing to try out unfamiliar weapons. Luckily, the M249 was the second weapon unlocked in the medic kit, meaning that it was available in the beta, and so I took the opportunity to get my hands on a weapon that I'd seen before. So, of course, once I actually got the game, I would strive to once again unlock the M249. Once I did, it was one of the only medic weapons I used, along with the M60. The M249 was a very fun weapon to use as the medic, as I could provide sustained suppressive fire with its 200 round belt, whilst my teammates either made a break for the objective, or simply waited around my med pack to be fully healed. Its high rate of fire meant that those 200 rounds left the gun pretty damn quickly. In Bad Company 2, the M249 was a great medic weapon that truly lived up to its classification as a squad automatic weapon. In Battlefield 3, once again the M249 SAW was the second LMG unlocked, however, it wasn't part of the medic kit this time around. Instead, the LMGs swapped roles with the assault rifles, and were now part of the support kit. This meant that rather than have access to medpacks and defibrillators, the LMG users now had access to an ammo box and a variety of supportive equipment, including C4, claymores, and the mortar launcher. This change was more than welcome, especially the access to ammo boxes, as it meant that the LMGs, the highest capacity weapons in the game, could be topped up constantly. For a defensive player using a weapon such as the M249, this was especially useful, as you could equip the gun with a bipod to mount it onto cover, and extended mags to increase the ammo capacity to 200, and then drop an ammo box by your side to make sure that you always had ammo. Drop some claymores on the floor around you, or around the objective, and you could become a brilliant defender. The M249 isn't only defensive, however. Equip a foregrip, and you could remain accurate anywhere, including moving up with your squad to assault the objective. Oh, and the addition of the suppression mechanic in Battlefield 3 worked particularly well. Just fire in the direction of a group of enemies, and you could rack up a ton of points, as well as throwing their aim off. Light machine guns typically mean slow handling times, and the M249 SAW is no exception. As a result, you can't rush around with the SAW and expect to do well. Usually, I like to find a place to emplace myself and hold off enemies as best I can. The addition of bipods in Battlefield 3 truly helps, as the SAW can be mounted onto a surface and loses a ton of recoil in the process. In addition to the high rate of fire and suppression mechanic, holding off a group of enemies has never been more rewarding. Suppression is one of the first things I think of when I see the SAW. Its large ammo count and high rate of fire means that this Belgian beast spits out bullets like there's no tomorrow. Although the reload time of the SAW is almost always punishing, it is a fair trade-off for those moments when you are able to take down a large group of enemies with relative ease. When the time is right, and you are set up correctly with an army approaching from over the hills, pin the trigger on this squad automatic weapon and cut your enemies down to size. Thanks for watching. Be sure to join me next time when I cover the first shotgun of the series, the 870 MCS. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will speak to you later.